Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast where we talk about how to make a career in the robotics world.
The ROS Developers Podcast. The ROS Developers.
Okay, here we are. This is Ricardo from The Construct, and today we are going to be talking about a very interesting subject. It's a question that has been posted many times in the social networks, and it's about how useful is ROS when searching for a job. So I have called this episode "The Truth About ROS Jobs." And that is the subject that I would like to discuss with you. So I started by digging into the question because I read the question on LinkedIn, and then the question was something similar to this, is how valuable is ROS when we are searching for a job in the robotics sector? Okay, as a programmer, I'm talking about programmer, so as a software developer for robotics. And then what I did was to go into LinkedIn and then search on that month of November of 2024 about how many jobs were in the USA. I restricted my own search on the USA only, and to find how many jobs were available for that subject as a robotics software engineer. And then I found that I got around 2,000 jobs. So then I went into them and then analyzed all the data in there, and that's the insights that I would like to show to you here today, because what I found in those data, wow, will surprise you. Okay, maybe not. Maybe you already know the results and all the answers. I mean, nothing super surprising, but I think this is a very interesting information in case that you want to get into robotics, or you are already into robotics and you want to plan your career ahead and take decisions based on these data. Okay, so let's go about what I found in here. So the first insight that I got, it's about the level of degrees that we're asking those jobs. As you can see on the data here, there were 4 different levels. The first one is no degree. So no degree was mentioned there as a requirement for the jobs. And you can see that there are 27% of the jobs get that. So that means that, having a degree is not something mandatory for getting a job into robotics development. Then we got the bachelor's degree, also the master's degree, and the PhD also. So we have different percentages. Getting the master's degree is 50% of the jobs. So that will make you, like, if you have a master's degree, maybe your best chances. And maybe so the other bachelor's degree is also then is very similar. Both of them are very similar in my opinion. So you can see that all the percentages, they don't add into 100% because some of the job offers, they were mentioning like several possibilities. So they say master degree or bachelor's degree as a requirement, any of those, for example, or even PhD, master degree, bachelor's degree, it was possible. So that's why the percentages, they don't add to 100. So that's the first insight. Let's go to the next one. It's about the specialty. So, okay, degrees, but in which kind of degree, which type of degree? Then, of course, this is computer science place. It's 96% of the offers were asking for a computer science from the offers that were asking for a degree. That makes sense, okay, because we are talking about programming robots. But other degrees are not discarded, because in programming robots, it's not just about programming. If you know programming, then you have more chances to succeed in robotics, because the main subject is programming. But it's a very special type of programming because we are talking about robots, things that move and change instantly based on what the commands that you have sent, so what the program is executing. And that's a different concept than just programming on a computer, on a phone, on an app, these kind of things that are kind of static things. So that's why electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, robotics engineering, and even mechatronics, they have a chance. So electrical and mechanical engineering, they have a 28% of the offers, So those are the closest if you are on those. But in both degrees, they are okay if you have it, but you need to have the programming skills required for the job, okay? So it's not just that you have this, it's okay, but also you need to have the programming skills. We'll talk about the programming skills in a minute. Then the third insight is the type of work. And for me, that's also very, very interesting because I see a lot of people that are looking for remote job offers. And in this case, for robotics, it's only a 15% of it. And then on-site is a 71% on-site. So you have to go to the office, you have to go to the place. And some 15% also for hybrid, kind of. You can change. Some days go to the office and some days don't. But that makes perfect sense because we are talking about robots. Man, we are not talking about just a computer and then you push and then you execute on the other computer. No, we are talking about seeing in the robot what is happening with your program. And for that, it requires you to be on the site or have very, very, very specialized installations that allow those tests to be executed remotely. Like, for example, the one that we have at the Construct, that we have this for our students. So we have remote robots, real robots, but they have to experience with the robot. But that's another matter because it's for education purposes. But when you are developing a product, you need to be beside the product. So that makes a lot of sense. Then about another insight is about the previous experience. And here what I see is that a lot of offers, almost 50% of the offers, they are asking for people senior in robotics. They are looking for people who has a large experience developing for robots. That's not common because, I mean, robotics and AI, they started to be popular in recent years. So there are not many people on that position that can achieve this position, this amount of experience. So there are also mid-level roles and entry opportunities also that almost those two make another 50%. Then, yes, for the people that have 5 or more years experience, welcome, because most of the offers are targeting you and there are very little people. So maybe you will be able to move into the scale of the salary into the higher end. And then I would like to move into the skills that they demanded. About, okay, they are asking for a degree, that's okay, but then what are they asking that you must know how to do? Then I divided into 4 sections. So the first 4, the 4 sections are software development skills. It's about how to develop software, how to write software properly. Then about robotics and AI skills. Then another one is about ROS skills, because that's the subject, the real subject that I'm interested to analyze. And then about other skills that I call them soft skills. Then let's go for the software development skills. Also, this I divided into 3 types of software development. The first one is about languages, programming languages. And then the star is C++ and Python, R. The stars are C++ and Python, and then it's starting to get into the picture Rust, the Rust language. Yeah, you can see on the slides, if you are watching the video, that I also include Linux into the languages. I know Linux is not a language for programming, it's the operating system. I just included there because I couldn't fit somewhere else, but that's also a requirement. So that means the robots that we are programming are running Linux. So that's an important insight also. Then about programming. So the typical things that are taught at computer science, like design patterns, software engineering, algorithms, data structures, how to design systems, how to manage open source software, parallel programming, data science, and web applications, and even something that is not taught at all in computer science degrees, which is continuous development and integration. That's something very important also for the companies, because here we are talking about building products. And for that, quality, robustness is not just the video that works for the video, but it has to work for for forever, because it's a product that we have to send to the clients. Okay, so that's interesting as a programming. And then the technologies that they are mentioning that need to be the person applying needs to know is one is about the cloud, using AWS or Azure or any other cloud technologies. They are mentioned several times. Then we start to see the use of the ask for Docker and Kubernetes, but it's not a large requirement. So not many offers are asking for those, but they are starting to ask this, especially Docker more than Kubernetes. Then, of course, the start is Git. Git is mandatory, so you need to master Git if you want to work as a software developer for robotics. And then some issues tracker like Jira or Git. I don't remember the name of Git, but some issues tracker. That's also very important when in production, when creating robotics products, because you need to keep a track of what is happening with the product, where it's failing from the client, and then have a management of the errors and when to schedule for solving those errors in the product. So that the issues tracker is very important. And then there are a lot of, not a lot, but a few of mentions about CUDA programming. So programming with the GPUs and making use of probably for deep learning applications inside the robot. Okay, so that's for the software development skills that are required. Then for the robotics and AI skills required, so first for the robotics, I have seen the offers that they mention that the person that applies to the job has to know about embedded systems, control theory, simulations, kinematics and dynamics of robots. Of course, linear algebra, I put it there into robotics because it's very necessary when you are working with robots. Then, of course, simulations, real-time, sensors, and actuators. Those are the main subjects that are required for as a roboticist, as a robotic software engineer, from the robotics point of view. And then from the AI point of view, they talk about fleet management, computer vision, especially for object recognition, machine learning, reinforcement learning, and deep learning. Of course, these are like now are the most popular skills. And then the basic SLAM for navigation purposes. This is mentioned a lot also. Then finite state machines and in general behavior management of the robot. Those are technologies for defining the behavior of an autonomous robot. So what to do when this happens, okay? So those are the robotics and AI skills that are mentioned in the offers. Then we go to the ROS skills. That probably is the most interesting part for the audience of this podcast. And they just mention ROS in general. Sometimes they do mention ROS 1, ROS 2, very few times. They mention like ROS in general, like knowing about ROS. And of course, also another popular mention is Gazebo. And then also MoveIt, ROS to control, and a little bit about OpenRMF when they are talking about fleet management of job offers. But the important sentence of this slide or this podcast is that only 37% of the jobs are mentioning ROS as a requirement. And also I would say that many of them, they just require ROS as a nice to have, but not as a requirement. Okay, so that's important because 37%, in my opinion, is a very low value, low number. And so that it kind of makes that, well, so then is it worth it to learn ROS if just so few job offers are requiring me to have ROS? Okay, let's not answer this question yet until the end, okay? Because I have some conclusions to talk to you. And as for the soft skills that they are asking is about leadership, communication, and something that you are not going to like, documentation. Well, actually, I think that probably the audience doesn't like none of those soft skills, leadership, communication, or documentation, because at the end, we are engineers, right? We want to be working with the robots and not leading teams or communicating with others and writing the communication. We want to be with the robots, yes? I know, I've been there. But if you want to get a job, then you need to master those skills also. So you need to pay a little bit of attention into that, because it's not possible to work in an isolated manner and be doing what we only want to do. So that's interesting information, because those are they're mentioning it a lot in the offers. Then what I did is to put all those words, all those offers into a word counter, and then I kind of filter a little bit so to show the 40 most popular words that were mentioned. And you can see on this image that one of the there are two that are most interesting here, is about simulation and algorithm for the robot, and also control, I would say. So those three are ones that are a lot mentioned. So you can see on this image that they stand a lot and in the size. And also test is also mentioned, and that's very, very important. Actually, I had a talk with a leader in an important robotics company just some weeks ago, and he was mentioning about becoming a testing engineer for robotics. This is a very, very important job that has a lot of demand about testing the software in the robots, because that's something that is basic, that is providing to the company about the problems with the robot, right? Then the companies, they are eager to get that. And that's, I suspect that this is why test is appearing so much in this word count image, and that's a requirement. So if you apply for a job in robotics, what I wanted to say is, if you apply to a job in robotics, you will have to do a lot of testing and create tests for your code, not just to make the code work and then just go home. It's done. No, it's done now, and you need to add a lot of tests. Try the robot in different situations, and so on, so on. Then what can we see also from this image is that Python, it's more mentioned in those applications than C++. Almost similar, okay? Almost similar. But Python is a little bit bigger. And that's interesting. Rust doesn't appears here in this image in the 40 most popular words. We can see Linux is there. And also at mid-level, we can see communication, motion planning, manipulation. Those will be mid-level, including integration. Yes, integration also. Something that also we don't like to do, right? To integrate the software somebody else has done. That's also, but then this is something very important for when working in a company developing robotics products. And then one interesting word that appears also here quite big, let's say, is frameworks. Frameworks, for me, it's interesting to see it here at that level. And it's more or less at the same level as ROS. So ROS is a little bit smaller, even smaller. So frameworks is more mentioned than ROS, because at the end, the companies, they are developing their own frameworks beside ROS. And ROS is just one of them. Then they are very interested in that the applicant, that he knows how to manage frameworks, how to program frameworks. It could be ROS, or it could be another one, because there are more frameworks for programming robots than ROS. Then that rang a bell in my head. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting, because frameworks are going to be like the base for programming robots in the future. And those frameworks are going to be, for example, they are going to be substituted by ROS as a ROS framework. Maybe, maybe not, we don't know. But frameworks are going to be there. So that's something that I would like to discuss with you on the conclusions of this podcast. So then we have a lot of other minor subjects there that I have already mentioned in the previous slides. So let's continue. And now, before going into the salaries, where maybe you are interested, I wanted to talk about the Robotics Developers Masterclass, because if some of those skills that you have seen, you still don't have those skills, then the place where you are going to be acquiring those, the better, is at the Robotics Developers Masterclass, which is a masterclass program that we have prepared at the Construct, where we teach you all those skills, including all the continuous development and integration skills that companies are asking you about, how to build tests for the robotics code and how to maintain a continuous production of your software, how to get issues tracked and how to solve them, and all these kind of subjects that are not taught in other degrees, I would say. Yes, so now let's go to the salaries range. And in this slide, you can see the average annual salary. That is the average, the mean of this graphic is around the, let's say, 190,000 and around there, and to 200,000 per year, dollars per year. Okay, so take into account that I'm talking about the American market. So this is for the USA. Okay? So I haven't done the same analysis in other countries. Maybe you can adjust based on some graphics or some like equivalent charts that you can find on the internet. But, that says a lot, because those salaries are quite high and quite interesting. So have a look at this slide and let me know what you think about this, and if you have some other data that we can add into this salaries. Okay. Then going for the conclusions, and the first conclusion, which is evident for me, is that ROS is not a main skill required in jobs. Okay, so this is true, because only 37% of the jobs are asking for that. It's good. I mean, it's getting. I think it's getting better. I didn't analyze if this tendency was growing or not. That could be a very interesting thing to do for a further episode, then to see if this tendency is moving or not. So we'll see. Okay, I'm taking note about this. But so far we get only this 37%, and that means that it's not a main skill in jobs. And then I have put a question mark here, which is yet. So that means that in the future it's going to be. Well, in my opinion, I don't see that very clear. So you probably know that I am one of the most supporters and promoters of ROS in the world. So this is the ROS Developers Podcast I'm talking from. Okay, so that's very clear. But what I see is a tendency of companies on building their own frameworks. That's what we have been talking before about on this slide about all the words. It's frameworks. Then many companies, they are building their frameworks. And then maybe one of those frameworks is going to be better than ROS. It's going to be published as open source, and maybe it's going to conquer the market. That's a possibility, especially from some of the big companies that are now entering into humanoid robots. Now they are entering now, so they are newcomers. Okay, let's stay very clear, but they are pushing very, very hard. And then, of course, they are developing their own software systems, their own frameworks for their own products. And maybe next step will be to conquer the whole robotics market after they have conquered those sectors. Like especially, I'm talking about the humanoid sector. Okay, then maybe it's going to be another framework that overpass ROS, because ROS, from my point of view, at present has a problem of not moving fast enough. And well, that's a problem because of the size, the established, and because it's not, I mean, it requires a lot of coordination between different teams, different people around the world. So I'm not complaining about that, but I'm saying that this is a drawback that other frameworks can take advantage for. And then they are putting maybe a lot of money in the development of those other frameworks. So intelligent movement, from my opinion, is that they will liberate those frameworks and put them for free there and allow to do a lot of things like better visualization, better data analysis, included deep learning. And some companies like NVIDIA are already trying to do this kind of thing with NVIDIA Omniverse, but maybe some other companies like, I don't know, like Tesla that is developing those humanoids, or Unitree, or any other company that is not using ROS as the framework, maybe. We'll see. So that's an open question. Let me know on the comment of the video, what do you think about that? I would like to know your opinion about this. So this is the first, let's say, negative conclusion that I got from the analysis. But this is not all. ROS is a robotics framework. So as a robotics framework, you can show this as a skill that you have. So when the offers are talking about, we want people to know robotics framework, you can say, okay, so I have a robotics framework, is ROS, like any other else. And I am ready to use another one as I'm taught about. So the only thing that I need is to be taught about this specific framework, how the operations are made, how do you call, instead of a publisher, I don't know, you call it an injector, let's say, I don't know. So those specific frameworks will have their own specificities, but at the end, in the core, all of them were the same. It's a publisher and subscriber idea over a network, and then they have some specificities. But if you know ROS, your mind is already equipped into this kind of architectures. So you can quickly acquire the specificities of another framework. That's what I mean. So in that sense, learning ROS and knowing about ROS, I think it's a very good thing. But even more, if you know ROS, if you are using ROS for your research, for your studies, for your experiments, then you are getting a lot of experience in robotics, which at the end is what all those job offers are asking for. So they want you to know about path planning and navigation and SLAM, and how can you achieve this by using ROS. ROS is your best option. There is no discussion about that in order to acquire this knowledge, because that allows you to practice with your robots for free, open source. You can contribute, you can see the code. So there is no other better option than ROS in that sense. So ROS as an enabler for getting jobs, in my opinion, is the best. So that's why I consider that learning ROS and applying ROS in your studies, in your career, in your research, even that is not a waste of time, but it's counting, is adding up into your curriculum, even if ROS is not required for the job offer. So those are my conclusions from that analysis. Then, of course, I would like to know your opinion on all this data. So if you want to go down into the comments of the video below, then I will be happy to hear what do you think. Some things that you think maybe I'm wrong, or data that I am missing, or if you agree, that would be also awesome. Just explain your reasons, okay? So then everyone, all of us, we can improve, we can get better and know more about ROS and the robotics world. So that's the point. And then before going, I would like to remind you about the Robotics Developers Masterclass, which we have a special offers until the end of the month of December, so at the end of the year, let's say the 2024. And there we are teaching you all the required skills that those jobs are asking about robotics also, all the kinematics, dynamics, path planning, algorithms, how to create software for robots, how to maintain this software. Of course, we are teaching you ROS, ROS 1, ROS 2. We are teaching you C++, Python, Linux, all those skills, and you are practicing with real robots. So I would like you to take a look. It's very simple. You have a QR code on the screen, or you can type roboticsdeveloper.ai, and then you will get into the Robotics Developers Masterclass. You will see all the different real robot labs that you will be using remotely from your side. And you will be connecting here to our offices in Barcelona, in Spain, and managing the robots that we have here, several robots, different setups, different environments for different requirements. I think that you are going to enjoy a lot to learn in this way, because it's also very, very fun. Very fun. And that is all for today. So let's finish here. Let me know what you think about the results on this that I have presented on these slides, but also let me know about this new format for the ROS Developers Podcast that we are starting today, because we are going to change from having interviews from people to this more providing information, useful information, teaching to the people, to the listeners about important subjects that are in the ROS and robotics world. And I will be mainly myself talking after some analysis, and I will give you all the insights that I have covered after those analyses. So let me know on the comments below what you think of this format. If you prefer the other one, you prefer this one. So I will be very happy to get your opinion. And that's it. That's all for today. See you on the next episode with more information, more interesting thing about how to build your robotics career. And until then, keep pushing your ROS learning.